Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another What I'm Reading Right Now video here on the channel. This is the series where I talk about what I have been reading, what I'm currently reading, and what I shall be reading next. Let's get into it. After I clean my glasses. I finished 3 things since the last time we spoke, which is ending up being roughly my weekly average now, I think. First up, I finished my audiobook reread of Nona the Ninth, or Nona the Ninth, depending on your pronunciation. I know the audiobook does say Nona, but in my head it's always been Nona, so I can't picture it any other way. I liked this. It's very similar to Harrow. I wouldn't have done if I hadn't had an explanation of what was going on. Not to spoil my upcoming video on this series, but my basic conclusion is these are great books to read with dramatic irony, with knowing what's happening. Reading them to experience them not knowing what's happening, I don't personally find enjoyable. I know a lot of people do. For me, it doesn't work. For me, it just feels smug, and I don't love that. It's not my favourite thing. But that being said, I can't say that I didn't like this book. I had a lot of feelings towards the end. I love the characters. I think it's going to take me a while to cement my full thoughts down into a coherent review, so bear with me on that one, but it is coming. The last thing I'll say on that for now is if you are struggling with them, I would definitely suggest switching over to audio if you haven't already. It just works much better for me. Moving into what I'm calling the orange section of my reading, because it just happened to be a lot of orange books. I finished The Sword Unbound by Gareth Hanrahan. This took ages. It's about 600 pages and it's been a while since I've dug into a physical fantasy book of that size, but I knuckled down, I read it chapter by chapter, and in the end I thought it was good. Do I think it's as good as The Sword Defiant? No. I think The Sword Defiant is stronger just conceptually, and I don't know, I feel like it could have been one book on its own. However, I did like this. It really grew on me. I think the last 200 pages are where it really shone. It might be telling that that's the point that I really managed to give some more time to reading it in bigger chunks, so possibly it's just one that requires you to sit down and read it all. If you don't know, this is a series about a fantasy world well after the end of a fantasy series would have happened. So we have 9 heroes. It's sort of D&D tabletop campaign kind of thing going on. We follow their barbarian character Alf, who is now a hero of legend, but there's kind of wicked stuff bubbling up and Alf carries a cursed sword, and that's the sword connection. The sequel follows on from the events of book 1, and I can't spoil book 1 for you, so that's enough said. I like this. I don't know that it hit as emotionally hard as book 1 did. I don't know, I feel like probably on a reread, and again probably by audiobook, I would feel very differently, but something about it just didn't quite gel for the first chunk. But the second chunk was really good, and I think probably on a reread I would really enjoy this. But I haven't done the reread yet, so I can't fully say that. Then the last thing I finished right down to the wire on Sunday, I finished Autonomous by Annalee Newitz. This is a book about Big Pharma and autonomy, unsurprisingly, where we have kind of indentured robot servitude in a world where all the medicine is patented, which is also this world. And yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought it was a good book. I hadn't read it in a very long time. I think I originally had a review copy of it and I liked it a lot, but that was before I was reading a lot of science fiction. And I think of all the Annalee Newitz I've read, this is not my favourite. My favourite is The Future of Another Timeline. I think that book just is absolutely wild with how good it is. However, I do think this is a really interesting thought piece. It's a really enjoyable book in its own right without just being a thought piece. We follow what's she called? An anti-patent scientist turned drug pirate called Jack, and she's great, and it's a good time. I enjoyed it. I think you can tell that this is one of Annalee Newitz's earlier books than the ones I have read recently, and I think that's a really great sign to see their writing develop and just be great. My current reads, what's currently going on, I have Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. This is the current book for the T. Kingfisher read-along, but kind of it's what's your next Clock Boys read is how we've framed it, because a lot of people hadn't read the originals. I think I'm maybe 5% into this. I am liking it. I don't have much to report because I'm 5% in. We've met a sword. It's a good time. There we go. There are other things I have planned to read this week. I didn't bring it upstairs, but I have The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz because we're at that point in overbooked phase 2. I know that I like this book. I enjoyed it the first time and I really wanted to do a reread, so I'm looking forward to that. I think my goal with the reread is to understand the world building a bit better, because I think the first time that I read it, it didn't quite land for me. I got a bit confused. So the goal is less confusion. I'm going to be reading Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This was kindly sent to me by Kerry, I think, from over at Kerry Louise Reads, and I think I got it for my birthday, and I'm excited to read it. It's been a while since I've read any Adrian Tchaikovsky, but I think it's going to be a good time, and I have one other book by his that is going to be coming up in the next few weeks, so wanted to get to that. And lastly, my review copy for the week is going to be The Honey Witch, which I mentioned last week because I got sent this review copy of it and it was already out, so I need to get to it. I think this is going to be a nice, relaxed romance book, so I'm going to start my week with this. Firstly, to get it out of the way in case it's not very good, and also to start me off on a good foot with a nice, easy read. We're repeating last week where my book that I've added to my TBR is also a review copy that is out this week. So I will be reading this next week, probably. This is Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. This is the author who wrote Kaikeyi, which is somewhere behind me. It's down here, just out of frame. I loved Kaikeyi so much, and I'm really excited to pick this up. It's a powerful and deeply moving reimagining of the story of Ganga, the goddess of the river, and her mortal son. This is a masterful tale of duty, destiny, and the unwavering bond between mother and child. I loved Kaikeyi so much. You can check out my review for that. I'm really looking forward to picking this up. Again, probably next week, but if you're keen to read this, it will be out by the time you're watching this, I believe, in the UK. So that's exciting. The other new release that came up that I thought I would mention is, it's called The Elusive? Just Elusive or The Elusive? I can't remember, but Editing Judith will have come in with the cover. This is the second book in Genevieve Cogman's Scarlet Pimpernel reimagining series, and I liked the first one. It's a Scarlet Pimpernel, but there are vampires, French Revolution vampires kind of time. I don't have a particularly strong desire to read another book in the series. I just don't think it's really where my head is at right now, but in case you read that first book and you wanted to read the second, you now probably can. Since next week is my off week, I thought I would also mention that I am planning on picking up the next T. Kingfisher, which is What Moves the Dead. We are back in her horror, so if you are reading her only her horror or you're not reading her horror, keep that in mind. As ever, if you want to come to the Discord, that's where we're having the chat for that read along. You can join at any point, read any book, just have a great time with us. It's been really enjoyable so far this year. And I think I just want to say this just for myself, watching this back editing, if anybody wants to call me out on it on the Discord. I do still need to read Song of the Huntress. I've had it on my shelves. I haven't even started it, so I can't claim that it's been a DNF. I do still need to read this. I've just been trying to get on top of reading all the things that are coming out very soon. And for my own mental note, I do need to read Song of the Huntress at some point, or at least start it. But we'll see how we go next week. I've really been enjoying getting back into reading recently. I think it's partly because work has been less busy, which means it probably will tick back and the circle will turn and the balance will come back into play again. But for now, I'm going to cling on to that enjoyment of reading for as long as I can and get through the fairly chunky things that are on my list for this week. I am feeling much more on top of things than I was, which is just so great. I don't tend to go back and watch my old videos, but I'm tempted to just look at exhausted Judith from kind of March and just be like, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get there. Because yeah, I do think I am pretty much back on my game, which is great. Just need to get a few more videos filmed and everything will be peachy keen. Is there anything else to update you on? Other than the fact that I really need to stand up because I was running over the weekend and now my legs are very sore. So I think that's everything. I am desperately trying to think of a good sewing project for the summer, so if you've got any ideas of fun garments to sew, let me know. I'm thinking maybe a shirt. I think it might be time to try and sew a shirt again. What have you been reading? What have you been up to? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also come hang out on Discord, where we have chill chats about books. I would like to say a big thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams, and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much to you for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith, and you're watching another... Do I think it's as good as the... What's the first book called? Why can't I remember? The Sword... Defiant. I got there in the end. My current reads, what I've got on the docket, I'm reading Sword Heart by Kingfisher. Come on, white balance. Settle down. There we go.